All right, what's up, y'all? This is Bob Jones in China, still living here through all the craziness. And, well, I guess now it's y'all's turn, as we say in the South, to deal with all of this nonsense. I just wanted to give some of my thoughts since watching a video, a really cool video. I forgot how to post a link on my YouTube, but um, on the comments of the video, I'll post it. Very insightful. Is it propaganda? Well, I don't know. Propaganda, by definition, is anything that's any dissemination of information that's designed to cover something up or present information in a way that's not accurate. This video was made by some guy who's a writer for the New York Times, and it's very well written and documented with sources. Most of them Chinese that were covered up or leaked out of China. So, by according to definition, this isn't really propaganda because it's revealing. It's not covering up or twisting in an effort to increase nationalistic feelings. It's just trying to show people, like, what the situation is in regard to the virus. Now, after watching this video, you're probably going to think, what the hell is China doing? And so this is more of a commentary in regard to the video and just some thoughts from someone who's been in China for 12 years. Um, my visa, and at the moment, no one can come into China if they're, no outsiders, no foreigners, even if you have a legitimate visa, and you can't get one. My visa is still valid for 4 years, but every 60 days I have to leave. So that means the next time I leave, I can't come back, but Hong Kong and Macau are sealed. So the only way I can get out is on a flight out of Guangzhou or another city, which, tickets are astronomically expensive right now. So the government has given people an extra 60 days beyond their expiration date of their visa stamp. So actually, I still have another month left for my 60-day extension. After that, I will probably just overstay the visa because I don't have the money to get a plane ticket. Because at the moment I'm teaching English and there are no jobs that I can get because I work at training centers. So I work at home and I only make a couple of thousand RMB a month, which is only maybe $400 or $500. So I'm going to overstay my visa intentionally and deal with that later. So let's get into the video. So this guy, he's a writer for the New York Times, and he basically talks about how the first person that was affected in late November, and she was a research student working at a P4 lab, which is like biochemical warfare lab in Wuhan. And you'll see, according to the video, her all of her information's gone except her name that she actually was enrolled in the college. So she was more than likely patient zero, and then of course, in the first couple of weeks of December, we had the first few cases. And he goes on to say that half of the, shows documentation from the doctors in Wuhan that shows that of the 41 people that were actually, um, infected in the first couple of weeks, only like around half of them were actually around the seafood market. The other half had no relation to it. So there's that. Then he talks about how this woman, Chinese woman, who she gave a couple of public speeches in regards to actually being able to isolate the SARS vaccine and how they now can manufacture it, or not vaccine but the virus. And then and she actually gave public speeches in regards to this situation. in 2015 and 2017. So there's that. Then they go on to say that they go on to talk about the E proteins and the S proteins and all this fucking shit. Chemical structure of the virus, the genetic structure, and how it's actually a hybrid between SARS and HIV. What the hell? So that's why it affects the respiratory system, and that's why the immune system can't fight it, which makes sense. So you got the best of both worlds, the ability to attack the respiratory system and the inability to fight the disease off. So, and then they go on to talk about Jiang Zemin, who was the chairman in the late 2000s, and his son Jiang Mianhuang, and Jiang Mianhuang's son. And he goes on to talk about the relationship that Jiang Zemin was the president when a book was written called Unrestricted Warfare, and it delineates, well, it describes how a stronger country like America can be defeated by indirect paths of attack, which is what Chinese people do. Um, One of those being biochemical warfares and economy. And I'm going to get into that later, but right now I'm just trying to give a quick synopsis so that if you do watch the video, you have a basic idea before it gets into it. So Jiang Zemin was a president when this document, book, whatever, was proposed, and then his son was the one who actually got funding and was the major player behind the P4 laboratory being constructed in Wuhan. Now, Jiang Zemin is still in power. Xi Jinping is probably his puppet, um, just like, the president is the puppet for whatever party he works for. So it's important to remember that Xi Jinping is probably just on strings, and Jiang Zemin is still controlling shit. So Jiang Mianhuang is his son who got funding for the factory in 2012 or 13. Originally, the French architect, and they built this in joint cooperation with France. French architect was like, fuck this, I'm not doing it, so they hired it to a local contractor in Wuhan, and so it was built. And then you have the remdesivir, the vaccine that was proposed by America, which China like stole basically and got a patent on. Well, the person in charge of that company who was making it was Jiang Mianhuang's son, and I can't remember that bastard's name, but he's a Jiang. That's the family name. So Jiang something something. So you have those three guys fucking shit up. Now, then you have this girl who disappeared, who was a research student, and then of course everybody knows the government delayed, and so here we go with the conspiracy theories. Okay, now at the same time, I must tell you, now in the video this guy talks about blockchain currency, which China is is in the process of developing, and basically it's where the government controls the money. And you'll see according to this video that the government can basically like automatically control the allotment for whatever expenses you decide you want to spend, whether it's on clothes or food or transportation. The government can actually set a limit on that automatically. Now, this is different from Apple Pay or Google Pay or WeChat Pay or Alipay, in that you control your money and how you spend it. The main difference is blockchain is actually government controlled. You don't really control it. You have access to it, but the government actually controls it. Now, the government can control your money on WeChat, but not directly.